Hello everyone, welcome to Lukmaan IAS. Today we are going to have the Hindu newspaper analysis dated 14th of November 2023. In today's newspaper analysis, we are going to cover an important topic from the mapping section. This is going to help you to solve a question related to mapping in prelims exam. Apart from this, we are going to cover important editorial articles from the newspaper. There are some other important articles also that we are going to discuss in today's newspaper analysis. So before we move into the discussion, let us quickly see the list of articles that we are going to cover in today's newspaper analysis. So list of articles along with their relevance from the UPSC syllabus and also page number from the Hindu newspaper is mentioned. So let us quickly start the discussion with the first topic, which is a mapping topic for the day. Okay, so we are going to see the map of India and Nepal. Why we are seeing the map of India and Nepal? Because recently Nepal is in news, right? Nepal is thinking of banning the TikTok application, right, in their country. So accordingly, Nepal is in news. So this gives us an opportunity to look into the map of Nepal. Where is Nepal located? Like, where is India located? So we are going to see the relative location of Nepal and India. We are going to discuss about some of the regions, right, that are point of conflict between India and Nepal, and also between Nepal and China. So with that perspective, let us see where is Nepal located, right? So over here, as we can see in this map, right, this is the physical map of India broadly, but over here we can also locate Nepal. So Nepal is located towards the northern side of India. Okay, so this is the map of Nepal. This is the map of Nepal. This is just above India, right? So India has, let's say, western portion, eastern portion, but Nepal is just over here, right? Nepal is just over here. So this is the location of Nepal. And if we talk about the areas that are disputed regions between India and Nepal, we are going to discuss about them also. So this is one of the disputed area. Okay, this is one of the disputed area. So it is disputed area between, let's say, I would say India, Nepal, and also it has dispute, right, with China as well. So one of the region that remains in news is Kalapani. Okay, this is known as Kalapani. So Kalapani is a kind of, we can consider it to be a bijunction. On one side of Kalapani there is Nepal, on the other side there is India, one of the state of India, which is Uttarakhand. Okay, so this is the region. Kalapani has been in news because of some dispute, right, geography related dispute in this area. Apart from this, there is another region which is known as Lipu Lake. Okay, this is Lipu Lake. So this Lipu Lake point also remains in news. You can see it is just to the north of Nepal, but according to the map of India, this is part of India, right, according to map of India. So these are the two regions that remain in news, right, Lipu Lake and Kalapani. And also there is another region which is known as Limpiadhura. Okay, Limpiadhura. Limpiadhura is to the north, Lipu Lake is to the, let's say, eastern portion, Kalapani is to the west. So these are the three regions, 1, 2 and 3. These are the three places that are in dispute, right? Time and again they remain in news. So that's why it is important that you should give proper importance to these regions. And if we talk about the map of Nepal specifically, so this is how Nepal looks like, and this is the capital of Nepal, which is known as Kathmandu. Okay, Kathmandu is the capital of Nepal. So this is Nepal, and there are, in this map they have located those places that are, let's say, sharing border with India. For example, Nepalganj, Dhangadhi, and there are, let's say, other regions also, Birgunj, Janakpur Dham, right? So these are some of the locations that are very near to the borders of India. Okay, so these locations are also mentioned. This is just to showcase how Nepal looks like. You can again have a look at this particular map, right? This particular map to understand, where is Nepal located, and go through this single map of Nepal. That will also help you to understand. So having discussed the mapping topic, now let us move to the first article of the day. It says enhancing representation for a just electoral system. Okay, enhancing representation for a just electoral system. So let's understand about this topic. enhancing representation for a just electoral, right, for a just electoral system. So this article has been written by one of the parliamentarian, an MP has written this article. So that particular person has talked about, like, you know, enhancing the representation in the Parliament of India and also in the state legislative assemblies, right? Why we want to enhance the representation? So that we can achieve a just electoral system, an electoral system which is just, right, which is fair. So to highlight this particular position, the author has talked about the number of MPs, right, the number of member of parliament per unit population, right? So if we talk about the MPs in India, right, if we talk about one MP in India, so one member of parliament represents approximately, right, approximately I would say 2.5 million citizens, okay. Around 25 lakh citizens are represented by a single parliamentarian in India. If we talk about the similar number thing in countries like United States of America, they represent one member of parliament over there, one like you know US representative, one person in the House of Representatives in the US represent around 7 lakh population. And similarly, if we talk about Pakistan, they represent around 6 lakh citizens. And in Bangladesh it is 5 lakh citizens. So like in case of India it is 2.5 million. In case of, let's say, USA it is around 7 lakh, right? In Pakistan it is around 6 lakh, and in Bangladesh, right, if we talk about Bangladesh, it is about 5 lakh people. So these are the statistics when we compare India with other related nations, So the thing is, here it is, from this statistics it can be seen that a single MP represents huge number of population in India, right? So the thing is, like, you know, if we increase the number of member of parliament, so the thing is they will be representing little less number of people, and, like, you know, more people will have representation in the parliament. So this is one point which is supporting the idea of increasing the representation in the parliament. Apart from this, the other point is, in this article the author has said that, like, you know, we can increase the number of parliamentarians, right, number of parliamentarians. How? We can increase by many measures. For example, if we talk about the states of Uttar Pradesh is a very, very large state, okay. It's a large state. Since it's a large state, like, you know, to have a proper law and order in this state, it becomes difficult to govern, right, because of the huge geographical territory. Similarly, if we talk about Bihar, right, Bihar is again a very large state. And if we talk about the state of Sikkim, right, which is a very small state, it does have representation in the parliament, but, like, there are very less number of people in the parliament from the state of Sikkim. So author says, like, you know, we can also think of having equal representation in the parliament from all these states. This is one of the idea that is put forward by the parliamentarian, and the author has talked about increasing the number of states, right? If we want to increase the number of parliamentarians, author says we can increase the number of states in India. Presently, let's say we have 28 states, we have union territories, like, you know, we have union territories also. But the thing is, like, you know, if we want to increase the number of states, we can increase the number of states to, say, let's say 50 states, or in India we can have 75 states. If we have these many states, so naturally the number of parliamentarians will increase, and they are going to represent more people in the sense people will get themselves represented through more number of people in the parliament. This is another idea that has been propounded by the parliamentarian through this article. The author has also talked about delimitation. Okay, author has talked about another concept which is known as delimitation. So what do we mean by delimitation? Delimitation simply means drawing the boundaries of constituencies for state legislative assembly elections and for Lok Sabha elections. Okay, so delimitation is the exercise which is generally conducted after a census is conducted, and so far 4 delimitation commissions have been set up, right, to redraw the boundary. And in this article the author has said that in 1976 during the emergency the number of Lok Sabha seats were frozen, with delimitation pushed out to 2001, citing ongoing family planning policies. Okay, so earlier the government have talked about that, like, we need to go for family planning policies, and they have frozen the seats in the Lok Sabha through 1976, right, in 1976. But what had happened in February 2002, 84th Amendment Act of the Constitution was introduced, which froze the number of Lok Sabha seats until the first census after 2026. Means in this article they have talked about 84th Constitutional Amendment Act. So this 84th Constitutional Amendment Act was enacted in 2002. Accordingly, they have, let's say, frozen the number of seats, right? They have frozen the number of seats in the parliament, right? Number of seats in the Lok Sabha. And they have said, like, this can be looked once again only after 2026, right, after 2026 census. But the thing is, like, if we talk about 2021 census, which has not happened because of COVID-19, so it may happen anytime after 2024. Okay, it can happen anytime after 2024. But if we talk about a census after 2026, this may be in 2031. So by that time, many states will have, let's say, huge number of population. Other states that have taken proper family planning, those states where the number of people, number of population has controlled to certain limits, so those states may be punished if they go by the population data only, right? If they follow the population data only. So those states, generally the southern Indian states, right? If I just simply draw a map of the southern Indian states, so those states who are in the South India, those states who are part of the South India, so these states have adopted something which is known as family planning, right? They have adopted family planning, and they have been able to, right, work on the population. They have been able to work on the population. So the thing is, with the time, their population has gone down, right? Their number, the increase in number has gone down. And if we compare it with the northern states, so northern states were not able to implement the family planning things properly. And that's why we see larger population in the northern states, right? We see larger population in the northern states. So author says that, like, if further delimitation is done, if a delimitation commission is set up after the census, in that case the delimitation commission should not only focus on population, because it will give very less representation to the people who have done good, right, in terms of family planning and all, which was the objective, right, which was the objective that was set by the government, right, long back in 1976 itself. But the thing is, like, those states that have performed well, so they will be less represented if let's say, like, delimitation commission only looks into this particular aspect through the population lens. So author says that geographical determinism, economic productivity, linguistic history, and a sense of fairness should also play a part, right? What are the things? Geographical determinism, economic productivity, linguistic history, and a sense of fairness should also play a part in, let's say, like, in the way how the delimitation commission should work, right? So this is the thing. So author says that we need to promote federalism. What we need to do? We need to promote federalism. if we want to promote federalism, what we need to do, right? Author says to promote federalism, first of all, like, there can be some like reforms in the Rajya Sabha, right? Some reforms can be adopted in the Rajya Sabha. What kind of reforms can be adopted in Rajya Sabha? Presently in Rajya Sabha, people are sent, let's say, like, the member of parliament in the Rajya Sabha are sent by the states. Okay, so in this article the author says that our electoral system must be reformed, federalism need to be promoted, right? And we need to give states a better voice and platform to represent their interest. Rajya Sabha can play this role, however it is currently elected by the state legislatures. Okay, so in Rajya Sabha the members are elected, right? The members are elected by the state legislatures, right? By the state legislatures. But the thing is, like, in some states, let's say if we talk about the state of UP, from UP huge number of people are there, and at the same time if we talk about states like Sikkim, right? States like Sikkim, so in those states very less number of people, right? Very less number, maybe 1 or 2 person are in the Rajya Sabha. So the thing is, now Rajya Sabha can be reformed in such a manner that there are equal representation from all the states in Rajya Sabha. May not be in Lok Sabha, but in Rajya Sabha this can be done. Author says this particular point also in this article. So author says that, like, in India we follow first past the post system, but if we talk about other countries like Australia, in lower house election they have voters rank candidate on an alternative preferential ballot, right? Means, like, in this article they have the author has given the examples of Australia. Author has given the example of France also. So let's discuss about what happens in Australia. In Australia they follow a different kind of, let's say, like, representation mechanism. So in their lower house elections they have voters rank candidate on an alternative preferential ballot. If a candidate does not win a majority votes in the first round, the weakest candidate is eliminated with their votes redistributed. Okay, so means, like, here they have an alternative ballot system, right? Alternative ballot system means, like, here they rank the candidates. So those candidates that get, let's say, those candidates that do not get maximum vote, so the thing is, like, there will be a candidate who gets the least vote, so that least voted candidate will be eliminated and his vote will be redistributed among the other people, right? So that way, I mean, like, Australia follows this particular system, and this goes on until there is a clear majority behind a candidate. And similarly, if we talk about France, right? Author talks about France, right? In France they follow a different system. So a double ballot system is conducted for National Assembly elections. If no candidate wins the first round, the second candidate sees only candidates with over 1/8 of the total votes in the prior round competing. India's first past the post system may ensure quicker election results, but still it does not ensure that a legislature often represents a constituency without a majority of votes. So that's the thing. So author compares India with Australia and, right, and France, right? So in Australia they have a redistribution system. In France they have a let's say, like, another system. In India we follow first past the post system. So, like, there are differences also. So finally the author says that limited representation in a democratic setup seems to be India's default and flawed preference. Okay, so we have limited representation system in India, and this is the default system that we have followed, but this system also has flaws in it. Okay, so author discusses about how, like, what happens in the urban local bodies. In urban local bodies, author says that, like, there are very less number of mayors who continue their term for 5 years, right? So mayoral elections does not happen. Author promotes that, like, there should be direct election for mayors also. And author says that, like, we can increase the number of states in India. Author also gives names of some of those states. For example, author says there can be a state that can be named as Bundelkhand. Gorkhaland, Jammu, Karu Nadu, Kongu Nadu, Mithila, Saurashtra, Tulu Nadu, Vidarbha. So author says like these can be new states that can be created. So this article is, let's say, full of suggestions, right? Full of suggestions related to how we, let's say, like, enhance the representation and how we go for a just electoral system in our country. Now with this we will move to another article. This article is important, but this article is related to internal security. This is a good topic. It is important for GS paper 3. Okay, it is important for GS paper 3 under internal security section. So in this article the author has compared the Hamas attack, the attack that has been conducted by Hamas on Israel on 7th of October with the attack that was conducted on India by some terrorists, right, long back in Mumbai, which is known as 26 September attack. So now let us understand this particular article in detail. This article is good, so I am going to take little bit time to cover this article, because this is going to help you understand some important policy parameters that a country follows related to counter-terrorism activities. So name of the article is Realism, not Machismo. Okay, realism. This is realism, not like machismo to counter terror. So as we discussed earlier, this topic is very much important under GS paper 3, which is internal security. Okay, this is from internal security section. So initially in this article, author has talked about the attack that was conducted by Hamas on Israel, right? So Hamas has conducted this attack on 7th of October 2023, where on a single date, what it has done, within 20 minutes or within half an hour, they have, let's say, launched around 5,000 missiles, right, on Israel. So this has led to a kind of counter-terror measure or a retaliation by Israel. Okay, so Israel has started a retaliation attack on Hamas. And not only they have started retaliation attack specifically on Hamas, but they are also involved, let's say, in killing civilians also. In where? In the let's say, like, Gaza Strip. So if I draw the map of Israel, let's say, like, this is the map of Israel, just for our rough understanding, this is where is Gaza Strip located, right? This is where is Gaza Strip located. So from Gaza Strip, right, from Gaza Strip, Hamas has conducted an attack on Israel, right? Hamas has conducted attack, and this particular territory is known as West Bank, right? This is map of Israel. So here we have Gaza Strip, here we have West Bank. So in West Bank we have Palestinian Authority, we have Palestinian Liberation Organization, but in Gaza Strip we have Hamas. Hamas has conducted an attack on 7th of October and Israel is doing retaliatory attack. But, like, they are not specifically targeting the Hamas people. They have also targeted many civilians. Okay, they have targeted what? Various civilians. And the thing is, like, more than 11,000 civilians got killed. And around 40% of them are children. So the thing is, the attack that they are doing, the Israeli attack, Israeli Defense Forces attack that they are doing, it's not proportionate, right? It is not proportionate with the initial attack that the Hamas has done. It is a disproportionate attack, which is, let's say, like, unlawful under international laws. And so recently what has happened, there was a person from United States of America. So that person has, let's say, like, written a paper, and that person has said, like, his name is Thomas Friedman, right? There was a person, his name is what? Thomas Friedman. So Thomas Friedman has written an article on New York Times, right? In the New York Times, what he has said that in 2008, the attack that has happened on India, which is known as 26/11 terror attack, right? This 26/11 terror attack has happened in India on Mumbai, and it was conducted by a group of terrorists, right, who came from Pakistan and they have attacked on India. So this Thomas Friedman, this person has said that the Prime Minister Manmohan Singh's government has shown remarkable act of restraint. Okay, so Prime Minister Manmohan Singh's government has shown what? Remarkable act of restraint. Okay, remarkable act of restraint. Why it is considered to be a remarkable act of restraint? Because after this attack on India, right, in Mumbai, Indian government did not launch an attack entirely on Pakistan, right? We did not, let's say, raided on Pakistan. We did not launch our missiles on Pakistan. We did not, let's say, wage a war with Pakistan as a nation. So this author says that, like, India has showcased a remarkable act of restraint over there. But the thing is, many people from social media, they are criticizing. They criticize because they criticize saying that at that point of time, the government that was there, it was, let's say, coward. I mean, like, it was a government that did not have the sufficient strength or power to attack on Pakistan. They should have attacked Pakistan. So this is what is said by some of the critics. But in this article, the author points out that, like, the kind of restraint that the government has showcased at that point of time, it was necessary and it was needed. Why it was necessary and needed? For that, the author has given certain viewpoints. Let's say author has talked about many viewpoints. So, author has talked about certain viewpoints. What are those viewpoints? Number one, the author says that in 2008, right, in 2008, what has happened? We have seen Lehman Brothers, okay, Lehman Brothers. I mean, like, it was a kind of non-banking financial company which was involved into giving the subprime lending. But this bank has failed and it has led to a kind of recession, okay. Recession came. So because of this recession, not only the US economy was in turmoil, but also Indian economy and many other economies were in turmoil. So the thing is, like, if we would have waged any kind of war or attack on Pakistan, so most of the people who have invested in Indian economy, so those investors will take, right, those investors would have taken their money out of Indian economy, okay, would have taken their money out of economy, because investors, what they do, they hate war, or they hate, let's say, terror attacks, etc. So they hate basically instability in an economy, right? They hate what? Instability, right, in an economy, because, like, if government of India goes into a full-scale war with any other country, so the thing is, our economy will be perceived as unstable by those investors who have invested in Indian economy. So this supports this viewpoint that government has restrained. Apart from this, the author has talked about many other points also. What are the other points that the author has said? Other point is that both India and Pakistan, right, both India and Pakistan are nuclear capable state, okay, so they are nuclear powers, right? So the thing is, if we just attack on Pakistan, if we attack on Pakistan through our conventional weapons, conventional arms, Pakistan will retaliate. But the thing is, like, if further escalation happens, it may lead to nuclear warfare, and that nuclear warfare will be devastating for both the countries. I mean, like, if India attacks, so their civilians will be killed, and if they attack, so our civilians will be killed. So it could be, let's say, more devastating for both the countries. So, like, since both are nuclear powers, they have exercised nuclear restraint, Okay, what they have done, they have exercised some kind of restraint at that point of time. And also what we have done, all the terrorists who have come, who have attacked, right, most of those terrorists have been killed or captured. There was a person who was captured also later on, let's say like, there was trial in our courts and finally he was given death penalty, right? So that's the thing, I mean like, so that has been done, but India has showcased many other ways of tackling the terrorist activities, right? By, let's say like, putting geopolitical pressure on Pakistan. So at that point of time, in 2008, US was investing in Pakistan. United States of India was investing dollars in Pakistan. Why? It was giving financial support to Pakistan so that Pakistan can weed out the terrorists out of its own soil. But Pakistani did not like this particular thing in 2008. So these are the points that the author says, that the thing is like, one of the person, his name is, let's say, Stephen Cohen, he has said that Pakistan is America's most dangerous ally, most dangerous friend. Pakistan is America's most dangerous friend because like, they harbor terrorists in their own soil. So the thing is, the kind of restraint that we have showcased, it not only helped the Indian economy to stay, let's say like, to stay resilient to the global economic pressures, but also we have put pressure on Pakistan in different ways so that like, their terrorist activities can go down. And the thing is, Pakistan is, let's say like, in this article, the author has written a very important thing. So, author says that whatever attack that the Pakistan has done, this attack, I mean like, did not help Pakistan in any way. So Pakistan has come under the grip of its own terrorist activities. So their economy has faced a lot of problems. So finally the author says that as India showed after 26/11 attacks, counter-terrorism can be carried out with due thought and realism, not, let's say, raging machismo. Okay, so we have done counter-terrorism measure with due thought, and we have also created, let's say, like, many anti-terror organizations. So in India, like, after 26/11 attack, we have strengthened our, let's say, anti-terror mechanism. We have, let's say, done many changes in the way that, like, the security apparatus works in India. And also we have done Balakot, strikes, etc. So these things have also been mentioned in this article. So this is a good article that reminds us about the 26/11 terror attack. Now we have another topic. It says remission of diabetes desirable but not essential. So in this article, the author has discussed about a disease which is known as diabetes. As we all know, diabetes is of two types. One of the type is known as type 1 diabetes, other is known as type 2 diabetes. Okay, other is known as type 2 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is something which is inherited from your parents. Okay, so it is, let's say, inherited. So it is, let's say, genetic in nature. So it is genetically inherited, right? Type 2 is something which is acquired. So like, type 1 diabetes, once a person has type 1 diabetes, it is very difficult for him to overcome the type 1 diabetes. So all the kind of measures that people take to control diabetes is related to type 2 diabetes. Okay, it is related to which diabetes? Type 2 diabetes. So author says that there are many organizations, right, that claim that they can reverse the diabetes. Okay, that claim that they can reverse the diabetes. But author says, like, to be practical, reversing diabetes is not possible. Why it is not possible? It is because the diabetes can be controlled, it can be brought back to the initial stage, but the thing is, the cause of diabetes cannot be eliminated altogether. So after some time, maybe after a few months or maybe after a few years, the diabetes will appear again. And once it appears again, it appears to be more deadly as compared to before. Okay, so it appears, let's say, like, it is shown in our body as more serious at a later point of time. So author says that those agencies, those institutions, those healthcare infrastructure, let's say, like, that are claiming that they can reverse the diabetes, this claim is false. Author says that instead of using the keyword reversal of diabetes, they can use the keyword what? Remission of diabetes. What do we mean by remission of diabetes? Means like, controlling the diabetes to certain extent so that a person can live healthy with the presence of diabetes itself. I mean, like, the diabetes can be brought back to certain point, but it cannot be totally eliminated. So that's why author says that instead remission can be said. Okay, so remission implies that diabetes has only gone away temporarily. We know, for instance, that cancer can go into remission but can come back in a more virulent form. So author says that the same happens with diabetes also. And in this article, author has said ABCDE formula. What? ABCDE formula. So author has given two different types of ABCD formula. Okay, one type 1 and type 2. So in the type 1, author says, what do we mean by this ABCD? A stands for A1C, which is glycated hemoglobin, which should not be very high. B refers to body mass index or body weight. So body weight should be under control. If it is high, you are more likely to achieve remission due to weight loss. C stands for peptide, a measure of insulin secretion. If it is good, you can achieve remission more easily. Then D stands for duration of diabetes. The shorter the duration, the greater the chances of remission. Means like if you became a diabetic patient very recently, if diabetes has been with you for a short duration of time, it becomes easy for you to achieve remission. And author says E stands for, right, enthusiastic individual who is keen to achieve remission. So this ABCD1, the type 1 of ABCDE, it says like A belongs to something. These are the different measures, right, that can talk about how the diabetes can be controlled, how remission can be brought about in diabetes. So apart from this, the author says that, like, leading to a long and healthy life. If people want to live a long and healthy life, they should follow the ABCDE once again. Let's say, so in this case, what do we mean by this ABCD linked mantras? A means A1C or glycated hemoglobin. They should be below 7% or if possible even below 6.5%. Okay, this is glycated hemoglobin. It should be below 6.5%. Then B, which is blood pressure, should be less than 130 by 80 mm Hg. Okay, or appropriate for the age. Then C stands for cholesterol. So cholesterol should be less than 50 milligram. Okay, and then D, discipline, which includes healthy diet. E, exercise and frequent checkups with your diabetologist. So author says that, like, we can follow this ABCD mantra for ourselves so that we can achieve remission from diabetes, right? Why the author is talking about diabetes today? It is because today, which is November 14th, is the World Diabetes Day. Today is World Diabetes Day. Okay, November 14th is celebrated as World Diabetes Day. And if we talk about data related to India, so according to a recent Indian Council of Medical Research India Diabetes study, there are currently 101 million people with diabetes and 136 million people with pre-diabetic conditions in India. 101 million people, you understand? It is 10 crore people are diabetic. 136 million, 13 to 14 crore people are pre-diabetic in India. Means like huge, almost 10% of India's population or almost 20% of India's population are either pre-diabetic or they are diabetic. So the thing is, this diabetes has achieved lifestyle disease, right? It has become a lifestyle disease. So we need to exercise regularly. We need to keep our cholesterol level under control. We need to, let's say, like, have healthy diets, right? We need to do exercise so that we can control the diabetes. This is all which is said by the author in this article, right? Today is World Diabetes Day. Now we have another topic. It says community rights and forest conservation. this is a very important article. Why? Because through this article we are going to discuss about the rights of the forest dwellers, and we are going to discuss about the, let's say, one important act that has been passed by the government of India very recently, which is Forest Conservation Amendment Act of 2023, right? So name of the topic is Community Rights and the Forest Conservation. Community rights and forest conservation. We are going to discuss about it. So basically, like, we are going to look into a very important thing, which is, like, an act that has been passed by the government. It is Forest Conservation Amendment Act. Okay, name of the act is Forest Conservation. Okay, Forest Conservation Amendment Act. Amendment Act of 2023. So we are going to understand the nature of this particular act, Forest Conservation Amendment Act. So author says that this particular act, Forest Conservation Amendment Act, that has been passed by the parliament, it has been passed from the parliament or through the parliament with least discussion on this topic. And this particular amendment act has a potential of diverting, right? Has a potential of diverting what? Forest lands, right? It has a potential of diverting forest lands for non-forestry purposes. Okay, non-forestry purposes. So this is what is said in this article. Apart from this, the author says that this particular act actually weakens the forest conservation, right? It actually weakens the forest conservation. This is another thing. Author says that, like, for economic exploitation, right? So this legislation actually fosters, let's say, like, economic exploitation of forest resources. Okay, economic exploitation of forest resources. So these are the things that this article says, right? So the author criticizes the Forest Conservation Amendment Act. Author says that it diverts the forest lands for non-forestry purposes, right? It weakens the forest conservation, and it also allows economic exploitation of forest resources, right? Allows economic exploitation of forest resources. What are the other things? The Forest Conservation Act, what it does, it actually, allows up to 100-kilometer area from the borders, right? From the borders, that this particular up to 100-kilometer from the borders, I think, right? It can be any kind of infrastructure project can be given a green signal. Okay, any kind of infrastructure projects that the government feels necessary for defense establishments, right? For defense establishments, maybe for creation of road or other kind of establishment, government can divert the forest resources from here for non-forest purposes. Means, like, they can clear the forest, they can create this particular thing. So this is the thing. What about the rights of the people? What about the rights of the forest dwellers? So author says that rights of forest dwellers have been sidelined through this particular Forest Conservation Amendment Act. In this article, they have also referred to an act which is, let's say, like, a judgment of the Supreme Court of India. Supreme Court judgment. So which Supreme Court judgment we are talking about? This is known as Thirumalpad Godavarman case. Okay, this is known as Thirumalpad. Okay, Thirumalpad Godavarman case. Okay, in the Thirumalpad Godavarman case, in 1996, the Supreme Court of India has talked about definition of forest. So Supreme Court of India said that forest is something which meets the dictionary definition of forest, okay, which meets the dictionary definition of forest. Dictionary definition of forest means any area that is full of trees, right, which meets the dictionary definition of forest, that will come under the purview of the Forest Conservation Act. And once it comes under the purview of Forest Conservation Act, those forests cannot be diverted for non-forest purposes. It means this particular judgment of the Supreme Court of India has widened the scope, okay. What it has done, it has widened the scope of forest conservation, okay. It has widened the scope of forest conservation, right, in 1996, right, because even if forests are there in private lands, so that forest can also not be diverted for non-forestry purposes after this particular Thirumalpad Godavarman case, where the Supreme Court of India has enhanced or widened the scope of conservation. However, the Government of India has come up with Forest Conservation Amendment Act 2023. This tries to do away with the judgment of the Supreme Court of India in this particular case. So this actually like adopts definition of forest which, let's say, deviates from the dictionary definition as was, let's say, like, as was given in the verdict in the Thirumalpad Godavarman case. So here they say, like, those forests that are deemed to be forest in government official records, they will only be considered forest. Otherwise, they will not be considered forest. And those areas that are deemed for, means like, that are not in government records, they can be diverted for non-forestry purposes also. So in this article, the author says the day when it was passed, on the very next day, the Odisha government, right, Odisha government had come up with a notification where they, let's say, like, they have deleted the deemed forest, right, they have, let's say, done away with the deemed forest notification. But within few days, because of the protest in the state, they have, let's say, called back the notification. The Odisha government has called back the notification. So the Forest Conservation Act underwent important amendments in 2016 and 17, which stipulated that prior consent from the tribal Gram Sabha was mandatory for any alteration to forest for non-forest purposes. Despite the initial enthusiasm, it appears that both central and state governments have become less enthusiastic about implementing the Forest Rights Act in their states, okay. So this is Forest Conservation Act, but what are Forest Rights Act? There are Forest Rights Act 2006 that talks about rights of the indigenous communities, that talks about rights of the forest dwellers, that talks about the rights of the, let's say, traditional forest dwellers or the tribal people who stay in the forest lands, that they have rights over the forest reserves or forest, let's say, like, lands or the output, minor forest output from the forest. But this particular act actually does away with that particular thing. Now it is a trend that even the central government or state governments are not giving proper due to the rights of the forest dwellers. Means like, they are very reluctant and they are very less enthusiastic, right, to recognize the rights of the forest dwellers. This is the thing. So you can go through this article. This is a good article. There can be a question, right, from environment and ecology section from this area. Then we have another article. This article is very important. It says Center extends UAPA ban on 8 Methi extremist organizations. Okay. So as we know that Methis, right, Methis are a group, right, it's a group, right, in Arunachal Pradesh. So in Arunachal Pradesh we have Methis, we have Kukis. So they are different tribal groups. So recently what has happened, there are 8 Methi organizations, right, Methi organizations in Arunachal Pradesh, right. In those Methi organizations have sparked a debate by saying that, like, we want to go away from India. So they have showcased a secessionist tendency from India. So that's why the government of India has applied Unlawful Activities Prevention Act against 8 MeToo extremist organizations. And why government of India has done it? Because these 8 MeToo organizations have advocated secession of Manipur from India through armed struggle. Okay, so this secession will be declared as unlawful. I mean, like, these 8 agencies will be declared as unlawful associations. And in this article they have given names of these associations also. Okay, means, like, this Revolutionary People's Front, United National Liberation Front, and its armed group Manipur People's Army, right? People's Revolutionary Party of Kangleipak, then Red Army, Kangleipak Communist Party. So these are basically MeToo organizations. These organizations have been banned under Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, UAPA Act. So, like, those people who belong to these organizations, they will be arrested. They can be arrested by the government of India, right, without any prior notice as well, because, like, these organizations have been banned under the UAPA Act. That's the thing. Why it is needed? Because they have shown secessionist tendency. Okay, so that's why. So India is a union of states, but the thing is, like, it does not allow any state to go away from India. That's the thing. Now we have another article. It says Delhi most polluted city in the world according to the Swiss survey. Okay, so there is a Switzerland based company, air purifier company. Its name is IQ Air. Okay, its name is IQ Air. So this IQ Air has identified 10 most polluted cities in the world. Okay, 10 most polluted cities in the world. So according to this particular report by IQ Air, Delhi is the #1 polluted city. There are 3 cities from India that come under top 10 cities. So apart from Delhi, Mumbai is another state, let's say city. Then we have Kolkata also. Okay, then we have Kolkata also. These are among the top 10 most polluted cities in the world. Why? Just after the Diwali, because during Diwali huge number of people have used firecrackers and it has worsened the air pollution in the capital, right? It has worsened the air pollution in cities like Mumbai and Kolkata. Although firecrackers have been totally banned, but, like, people might be having a stockpile of previous let's say stocks of firecracker, and they have been selling it, let's say, under the carpet, and this has been available with people, and people have used firecrackers, and it has, let's say, like, worsened the air pollution in Delhi. So the Central Pollution Control Board says that, like, if the air pollution is under severe category, so healthy people will also get affected, right? And those people who had, let's say, like, some kind of lung related problems, so they will be further affected because of air pollution. So many areas in Delhi have been classified as severe, and there the air quality index value was around 400. Okay, so those areas have been classified as worse, severe category. Okay, so this is the thing. In this article, basically they have talked about the air pollutants. For example, PM 2.5, the concentration of PM 2.5 in the air, right, makes the air pollution worse, because it is the pollutant that, let's say, harms the human being, right, very much. So with this, we will move to another article. It says Goldman upgrades Indian shares. So we know Goldman Sachs is a kind of brokerage. I mean, like, Goldman is a bank also, so it's a brokerage firm, we can say. So it has showcased positive sentiment towards Indian economy. So it has said that Indian economy is going through a bullish phase. Bullish phase means when the economic activity is growing, right, people are showing more positive sentiment towards the economy. And so this Goldman, I mean, like, they have said that economic growth, steady domestic mutual fund inflows, and a potential supply chain shift from China, it pegs country's real economic growth at 6.5% in 2023 and 6.3% in 2024. So according to Goldman, right, which is a brokerage firm in USA, right, so, and Goldman Sachs is a bank also. So they have said that Indian economy is going to grow at a rapid pace. For 2023 they have said 6.5%, and 2024 Indian economy is going to grow at 6.3% GDP, right? So Goldman Sachs turns bullish on Indian stocks, citing steady earnings growth and macroeconomic stability. So they have said many things. Okay, so the Nifty 50 has jumped 31% between March 2021 and October 2023 despite sales by foreigners. Like many foreigners have sold their shares, they have sold their assets, but still the Indian economy has grown by 50%. Like, you know, Nifty 50 has grown by 50%. That's the thing. So this is a positive sentiment towards Indian economy. Having understood this, now let us talk about the last article quickly. GEM stands for Government E-Marketplace. Okay, Government E-Marketplace is a kind of online portal where, let's say, like, you know, consumers can purchase things, seller can sell the things from here. Generally, Government E-Marketplace is used for selling and buying of agricultural commodities. Okay, so it says Government E-Marketplace procurement crosses 2 lakh crore on buying activity. Right, in 2021-22 total procurement stood at 1.06 lakh crore and is expected to cross 3 lakh crore this year. So Government E-Marketplace portal was launched on August 9, 2016 for online purchases of goods and services by all the central government's ministries and departments. Okay, so government ministries and department will procure or purchase the thing through this Government E-Marketplace. So Government E-Marketplace achieves an impressive 2 lakh crore gross merchandise value in just 8 months of 2023-24. Okay, like that. So they have talked about that, like, you know, the Government E-Marketplace is performing really good. So government is procuring its things, right, for its various departments through the Government E-Marketplace portal. Okay, so this is the thing. So with this, I would like to, let's say, like, you know, conclude our discussion for the day. Thank you so much everyone for attending today's session. I hope you have a good day ahead. Thank you.